Right. Hi everyone, and welcome to European Ravencoin Meetup. I'm going to give a brief introduction of our event, and then we're going to move on to our speakers. First, I would like to ask, could you raise hands if you are familiar with Ravencoin protocol? Ah, all right, great, good. So, without further ado, let's quickly, do we have, how can I change the slides? Before we start, big shout out to our sponsors. First of all, this Blockchain Expo Europe, thank you, who was kind enough to host us here. Then Ravencoin Shop, who is going to give some giveaways. We will get that to in our last session of question and answers. Then Jails Angels, who is supporting our community. And of course, the Ravencoin community who pulled this off and funded it. We have 3 speakers and 1 panel discussion where we take questions and answers. First is Tron Black, who is the lead developer of Ravencoin. Then we have Adam Bull, a community developer from Ravenland. We have Miles Manley from Cellcore. And Michael, who will be leading our panel discussion and taking questions and answers. This will be the giveaway prizes that we will be giving out in question and answer session. And the organizers standing around here, everyone, and me, who helped to pull this through. We will also be at the after party, so anyone interested, join us. It will be the Blockchain Expo's official after party. And without further ado, I'll introduce our Ravencoin's lead developer, Tron Black. Welcome. Where's the music though?
All right, so my name's Tron Black. I'm the lead core developer for Ravencoin. So I expected actually a larger contingent of people who are actually people who know about Ravencoin. So I'll cover that a little bit more than I had intended to. So Ravencoin is a coin that was originally a code fork of Bitcoin. And has been added, to that we've added the ability to create your own asset. So for people who are familiar with the crypto space, very similar to an ERC20 token, but you can create it very quickly and easily just by entering information like what your coin name is, how many you want, and paying 500 Raven, which is about, right now, about $30, maybe $35, and you get your own token. Now what your token means and what it's for, that will be up to you. So that's a super brief introduction. So I'm going to skip from there to thanking the Ravencoin community. So this was very, very generous of them. They were able to fly me out. I live in Utah, in the United States, and they paid via Raven to basically fly me out here and to speak to all of you wonderful people. And I really, really appreciate it. I want to start by telling a story of Blockbuster and Netflix. So how many of you are familiar with Blockbuster, the former movie rental place? Maybe half, okay. So Blockbuster is the largest video rental company. They had about 9,000 stores. And Netflix, how many of you are familiar with Netflix? It's on most of your smart televisions nowadays. You log in and you can stream movies. But before that, they rented DVDs via mail. So these two have been in competition to some degree for a while, with Blockbuster being the much larger, dominant player for some time. In fact, in 2000, the CEO or the founder of Netflix, Reed Hastings, went to Blockbuster and tried to arrange a partnership and tried to say, hey, we'll be part of your streaming features, or you can buy us. For $50 million, or we want to do a partnership with you. And at the time, John Atieko, I think is his name, said, said, no, we're okay, we're the largest, this is not a partnership we want, so Reed Hastings flew home. And then after that, today there is, in fact, last March, meaning just a few months ago, the second to the last Blockbuster closed its doors, leaving one Blockbuster. There were 9,000 spread across the world, 9,000 stores, 9,000 physical stores to rent videos. There's now one. It's in Bend, Oregon. So that's the story of Blockbuster and then Netflix. There's a reason I'm telling this story, because there's a comparison between Blockbuster and Netflix and between banks and crypto. So this is the comparison with Blockbuster and Netflix. So Blockbuster, actually, one of the reasons they didn't want to sell, they were making most of their money from late fees. People who rented videos and then just didn't return them in time. So they had to continue paying day after day. You needed a VHS tape per renter. So you needed to have physical inventory. You required stores, physical stores. People go into and pick up the tapes. It was using legacy technology, VHS, and then later DVDs and renting those. It was less efficient per renter than Netflix. And then they wouldn't partner with Netflix, whereas Netflix tried to partner with Blockbuster. And at the time, and this probably changed over time, not as arrogant now, but at the time when they had 9,000 outlets, when they were top of the world, they didn't really want to partner with Netflix. Netflix, on the other hand, no late fees, benefits from the network effect. The more people use crypto, or rather, I get the two mix, with movies, the more network effect there is, the faster bandwidth goes, etc. You get network effect, and you get it's just more efficient. It's obviously, you don't have to rewind tapes, you don't have to leave your couch, that kind of thing. It's virtual and it benefits from scale. It's using the new technology and new capabilities. It's more efficient per renter. They tried to partner with Blockbuster, but not the other way around. And in this case, Netflix was also super flexible. I don't know if you remember, the original Netflix was renting DVDs via mail. And then Switch, they said, what's going to disintermediate us, right? We're doing pretty good business renting these videos by mail, but eventually streaming is going to take over. And so they disintermediated themselves. They make that transition themselves. I believe they still have both of these running, but obviously the dominant one is the streaming. I'm going to run some comparisons. We have banks, and I use Ravencoin up here, but we can generically use cryptocurrencies. So banks, they make money from high fees. That's high fees of transmitting money, of doing remittances, just charging extra for various services and things like that. It's slow, using older technology, 2 to 3 days to ACH. Some people in Europe probably aren't experiencing this as much. I think money moves a little bit faster over here than it does in the US. But 2 to 3 days to move, if you're going not within one bank, but between banks, it's 2 to 3 days. And then wire transfers, they move pretty fast, but you're kind of limited to banking hours. It requires branches, physical branches, people to walk in, sign documents, etc. They're using legacy technology, more cost per user because you need more branches, more places for people to physically go. They wouldn't partner with crypto, similar to the way that Blockbuster wouldn't partner with Netflix. And arrogant. At the peak, they're at 92,000 branches. The fastest decline in branches was actually last year. I don't think we have the numbers for this year, but 1,700 branches were closed last year. So Ravencoin, or crypto in general, tiny network fees. You can move a large amount of money for a very, very small amount, or a large amount of value for a very, very small fee. Benefits from the network effect. The more people that are using it, the better it is. It's virtual, benefits from scale. It's using new technologies, new capabilities, meaning specifically the blockchain technology, which came about on January 3rd of 2009 with the introduction of Bitcoin. More value per additional user. The more people are using it, the faster and better it goes. And crypto, not necessarily Ravencoin specifically, has tried to partner with banks and hasn't had a lot of success. And I can kind of understand why banks would be a little nervous, but that's kind of what's happening. And then cryptocurrency is very flexible. It's being used for different things and is kind of adapting to its environment. So anyway, that's the story. Just wanted to draw the comparisons between kind of a legacy technology and one that perhaps thinks it's in the catbird seat for forever, and that isn't always true because of the fact that networking and network effects can dominate all of those advantages or all of that strength and power and shift things fairly quickly, meaning in a matter of years. So anyway, that's the story of Blockbuster and Netflix and banks and crypto. So I'll switch now over to Ravencoin. So Ravencoin, I mentioned this earlier, was a code fork of Bitcoin. So it acted like Bitcoin originally. It has a token, it has a value. You can purchase it various places, VertBase, you can go find it on Binance, Bittrex, things like that. The places you can find crypto typically. If you're not, and I don't know what the scope of this audience is, since this is kind of an Internet of Things and an AI forum. But if you haven't seen crypto, basically there's exchanges, there's places you can buy it. And each of these coins, and there are thousands of them. Ravencoin is in the top 50, but there's thousands of them, and you can go purchase them from various exchanges with dollars, euros, different currencies, or get Bitcoin and then trade it. So Ravencoin hatched on October 31st of 2017 as an idea. It was introduced by Bruce Fenton. He was the former executive director of the Bitcoin Foundation, and he introduced the concept on a Medium post. It was launched about 3 months later on January 3rd of 2018. That was on Bitcoin's 9th birthday, so just about a year and a half ago. It's mined into existence. I'm going to cover Ravencoin just a little bit more than I had intended to. Like I said, I expected this to be mostly people familiar with Ravencoin. It's mined into existence. So what that means is no one's sitting there saying, I have a big bucket of Ravencoin, give me dollars for it. It means that the people who run the network, to check all the transactions, who verify that everything is kosher, that no Ravencoin's been created out of thin air, that all the transactions are signed properly, those people work on a puzzle. And that puzzle basically, when they solve that puzzle, they get to verify a block and validate that all the transactions in it are done properly, and they get 5,000 Ravencoin. That happens every minute, regularly, every minute. If there's more people working on this solution, more people helping, more people solving this puzzle, then it'll make the puzzle just a little bit more difficult, and it'll continue to clock along at 1 minute intervals. If you're familiar with Bitcoin, Bitcoin has the same cadence or a similar cadence. It's just on a 10-minute cadence. And so from that time, that network has been running just fine since January 3rd of 2018. And since that time, we've been working on clients so that you can get Raven. You know, when you purchase it, you can send it to yourself. We have a Windows client, a Mac client, Linux client, iOS, Android, and web. You can download these. Just look for like Ravencoin Wallet. You can go to ravencoin.org and download the wallets for Windows, Mac, and Linux. And then we have a web client as well. So after we launched and the original plan, so this isn't just a copy of Bitcoin. So this is there are lots of copies of Bitcoin out there. Not to rag on any particular. One of the biggest ones is Litecoin, also a great coin, but it basically just is a token that has a value. Litecoin is. So in November of last year, we added the ability to create your own asset, and I mentioned this earlier, but you can create your own token. What that means is you go and choose a name, choose a quantity, and then you own those tokens, and you can send them. They're counterfeit-proof tokens that you can send to other people. And you fully own however many you create. It costs you 500 Raven to create any amount between 1 and 21 billion, and then you own them. What their value is really up to you. Are they a gift card? Are they a claim on your time? Things like that. So it really depends on the value. But they move and transmit just like Bitcoin. So here's some of the uses for assets. So you could make them gift cards, a rewards program, tokens that represent property, credits. You could tie them to gold, and you could put gold in the safe, and this token named gold, or gold token, represents gold that's in the safe. Software licenses, game items like swords, skins, etc. Contractual obligations. This will give me a sense of the crowd. How many of you know what ICO means? Okay. All right, probably more, definitely more than half, maybe 3/4. So an ICO was just an initial coin offering. It was people offering tokens, and they usually had a white paper and a plan, and it was like raising money. In the U.S., it was illegal, and so an STO is basically an ICO, but with the legal wrappers and all of the restrictions and requirements and potentially legal regulated entities that go around that. So those are coming. They're a little bit slower because it takes a little while to get that legal framework in place and all the issuance. And at least in the U.S., it's limited to who can purchase them. Can also represent reservation tokens. Some of these are securities under U.S. law, and many of them are not. They can also represent certificates of authenticity. So you create a token, there's only one of them, and it moves with the art or the item that has a limited quantity of them. Babysitting credits, local currency for a town, a stable coin, utility token, Kickstarter placeholders, stocks, etc. So lots of ideas. There's lots of people building around and on top of Ravencoin using these tokens. And so we can talk about that later. So for tokens, you need wallets. We have built Linux, Mac, and Windows core client, which basically means it kind of has all the features, but maybe isn't the easiest to use. And so other people have come along and built ones that are prettier, mobile, maybe not quite as feature laden because they don't have to support all of the nitty gritty features that you need in a core client. So sort of the last 2 or 3 months, all of these have come out for Ravencoin. So Zelcore, I won't touch on that much because we have Miles here and he's going to talk more about Zelcore. Exodus wallet is available for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android. Spend wallet, I'll talk about that more a little bit. That allows you to spend your crypto via a Visa debit card. Trust wallet, how many are familiar with Binance, the crypto exchange? Okay, about half. So this is their official wallet. Trust wallet is Binance's official wallet. They purchased it. They've added Ravencoin recently. Kobo wallet is very popular in China. So we recently did an AMA for them. And there's a new one coming soon. I can't name it yet because we haven't announced that yet. So here's Zelcore. You'll recognize this one. We'll get more on that. Here's Exodus wallet. So a lot of these are multi-coin wallets, meaning they support multiple coins. So they have a whole list of coins. A lot of them have the ability to exchange one coin into another within the wallet. They'll go through an exchange to do that. Trust wallet, this is the one from Binance. Kobo wallet, this is the one that's very popular in China. Mango Farms, this one's super interesting. So this one is web-based. It allows you to just log into a web browser. It'll give you your 12 words. The 12 words basically is your key. You write that down as your backup. What that means for the people who aren't crypto savvy yet is your transactions are signed by your private key. Your private key is a secret number that only you know. A lot of times you can encode that into 12 words, or at least a seed that creates your private key into 12 words. You write those 12 words down, and that way if something goes horribly wrong, including the wallet that you're storing your assets in, goes away completely, meaning disappears from the planet, they're gone, whatever, asteroid, something like that, you still have your 12 words and you can recover your funds. It's a little bit tricky and there's different ways to do it, but someone who's tech savvy can basically take those 12 words and recover your funds. So Mango Farm Wallet supports both our mainnet and our testnet. It also supports assets, so the ability to transfer these tokens that you created on your own. It also, this is a fairly new feature, so Trezor mode allows you to take a hardware wallet. How many are familiar with Trezor? Okay, again, about half. So Trezor is a little hardware device that stores your private key. And so it doesn't really ever go onto your computer. So what happens is the website makes your transaction. You say, I want to transfer this many assets or this many Raven. And it says, okay, I need somebody to sign this and I don't have the keys. I need somebody to sign it. And what it'll do, it'll send that transaction through the USB port to your Trezor hardware device. And it'll pop up and say, you sure you want to sign this? You say yes. The key never leaves this hardware device and is never on your computer. And the big advantage of that is if your computer is 100% compromised, it's not going to, you're not going to lose your funds. They're not going to see your keys. It's signed by this little hardware device you can keep on a keychain. Mango Farm supports that, not for assets, but for Raven itself. Spend app. So I understand this will be coming soon for Europe, but currently in the US, you can take cryptocurrencies. I think there's about 17 cryptocurrencies that this supports. You can send them to this app. So this wallet is a custodial wallet. And what that means is they hold your funds. So if you've heard the term, not your keys, not your funds, it basically means you put it in someone else's control. It's a little bit at risk, meaning if something happens to them, your funds are gone. This is a custodial wallet, however, relatively safe. But you send your funds there, and it'll add up your funds, show you how much you have, etc. But the real value of this, and the real reason they have to be a custodial wallet, is you can get a debit card, a physical debit card or a virtual debit card, and you can swipe that card pretty much anywhere around the world. I've used it here just to test it. Here in Europe, I live in the United States, and I'll swipe it. I'll swipe for euros. It'll do the euro to US conversion, automatically sell enough of my either Bitcoin Cash or Ravencoin. I usually put it on Bitcoin Cash, sell that because I want to keep the Ravencoin. Sell that instantly, the exact amount, and we'll pay through the Visa rails. We'll pay for whatever I'm buying at a grocery store. Anyway, very cool app that's recently added Ravencoin. So Ravencoin also has a whole bunch of, not a whole bunch, a few explorers and APIs. An explorer is a way to see, is a way to see your crypto and how much you have. It's also the wallets can use the APIs, application programming interface. These are open, can basically send a wallet address and ask for how many Raven are in this wallet or how many assets are in this wallet. We'll get that information back. So we have another one based on Blockbook. This is also Trezor's API, so we've got that. Both of those are available. And you can, we even have AMIs, which are AWS images that you can spin up and create one of these of your own if you want to run your own API and then hit that if you're building a wallet, something like that. This is Ravencoin Asset Explorer. This shows you all the people that are creating assets, what assets are being transferred, how many people own each asset type. At the time of this is an old snapshot. So there's 19,000 plus assets that have been created on Ravencoin. Some of them are just squatting on names. Some of them are actual real assets. This is some of the exchanges we're on. It's not fully updated. They more get added each month. But you can trade Ravencoin for different cryptocurrencies on these exchanges. Some are in the US, some are in Europe, some are in Asia. We were recently added to, recently on the Ravencoin was featured on Block Magazine on the cover. You can go to see that at blockjournal.io. It was the winner of ADVFN's most exciting new coin of 2019. I think 2 of the ADVFN people are here. Had lunch with them. Ravencoin Girl. So there's been 10 songs. This is just the craziest thing. We've got a super fan out there who's a professional musician. She's made parody songs and original songs. We have CDs here. We can give out CDs if you want one. See my wife Monica over here, and she'll give you a song. It has 7 of the 10 songs. The other ones are available. You can get those. I think. Well, just look up Ravencoin Girl. It'll point you to her songs. And then the superhero icon. So what's next? Dividends and rewards. So these are on our roadmap. This is probably sort of more insider baseball for people who are Raven fans. They're like, what's next for Ravencoin? The ability, if you were creating a company and you've issued shares, if you will, and you would like to pay people dividends, you can issue those in Raven back to the addresses of the people who own those shares. That's being worked on by the community. Messaging and memos, this has been a long-awaited feature. It's on testnet now, which is the ability to send messages to the people who are holding your tokens, like, hey, we want to have a vote, or, hey, we want to weigh in on this, or, contact me, we're making changes, something like that. Memos is the ability to send with every transaction, every Ravencoin transaction, to put a message as large as you want, because it actually goes off the chain connected to the chain, but and immutable, but into IPFS, so you can send large messages to people or to yourself by sending Raven with a message attached, or asset with messages attached. Tags and restricted assets. People have been waiting for this. This is the ability to do assets that can only move amongst tagged addresses, and this allows you to build a subset. This is helpful for securities type operation if you want to be regulated and have a regulated asset. Probably more important in the US than it is in other places. Lots and lots and lots of testing. So in order for us to move it to mainnet, we need to test this really big. There are some big changes. And then once we get through the first round of testing, we make sure that there's no kind of easy to find bugs. We'll be adding bug bounties, which you'll get if you're a developer. You can go look and join these bug bounties and basically earn money for finding anything that's kind of a critical bug. If you want to join the community, find out more, ravencoin.com, ravencoin.org, getravencoin.org. We have Twitter, Discords, Bitcoin Talk, Ravencoin Talk, Telegram, Reddit, GitHub, Wikis, Medium, all of these things. You can just learn more. There's tons of there. Super helpful people in all of those. A lot of the people that will help are here in this audience today. And I don't know if I have any time left, but if there is even a minute, I will take questions. Yeah. Yeah.
Those assets only have virtual value, but how do you connect the virtual assets to the reality value, like the gold assets? I've seen a lot of gold assets in Ravencoin made, but how do you make the connection?
Okay, so I will answer that question. Some people are sending assets to addresses that they find on the chain. So sometimes you'll just get an asset show up in your wallet. So Ravencoin is somewhat unique in that in many cases, you can find out what that asset is. If you go to that Ravencoin Asset Explorer, click on that. If they have put metadata, and metadata is information about the token, you can find out what that token is. There's also the possibility that asset has no value at all. I mean, it says gold, but it's not really gold unless somebody's standing by it saying it is gold, and that person's usually regulated, etc. So there is some of that where you get an asset. You can always burn that asset, meaning throw it to an address that it's gone. But people will send around assets because it's so easy to move around. That can happen. I think I am out of time. Hopefully that answered your question. Okay, so I will pass that along.
Hi everyone, we're going to have a question and answer later also. So if anyone does have a question, more questions, then we can take the questions in half an hour or so. Thanks. And yeah, we're ready for the next speaker. Adam, developer and a community member of Ravencoin from Ravenland.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Eddie. Hey everyone, how's it going? Hopefully I can get you a little bit excited about Ravencoin. It's a real privilege and a pleasure to give you this presentation, so thank you for everyone who's come. Who am I? Well, I'm Adam Bull. I'm the founder of Ravenland. I'm a blockchain analyst and automation engineer. I was previously a Linux administrator at Rackspace, and I was working in managed cloud. Yeah, let's not spend too much time on that. What is Ravenland? Well, Ravenland is a blockchain software house. It's a very small team. There's only a few of us, me and a part-time developer. We want to create the first community-run and owned platform as a service STO on Ravencoin. What that really means is we want to create an open retail platform where customers aren't held hostage by commercial equity groups or large retail companies. It's not something that is going to be easily done, but we hope that we will get there eventually. We want to create an honest and completely non-debt-based economic system using Ravencoin. When I started working on Ravenland, I was just some guy in my parents' bedroom trying to understand what it really was. It's somewhat a non-debt-based economy, and that's one of our goals at Ravenland. And the other goal was to make it open source and to make it community-driven, which is just really making a cryptocurrency relevant to people in retail and commerce. Why is Ravencoin and IPFS? Why Ravencoin and IPFS? Well, this graph, you might not be able to see it, the growth of average web page size and number of objects, January 1995 to July 2014. We can see there is a hyperbolic exponential relationship between the demand for file systems and computers, and this shouldn't be unexpected. We've already gone through the IBM personal computer revolution. We went from a period of using photocopiers, fax machines, and the 82086 AT, the first computer, and that was what really created the internet. First, we had a bunch of computers. They're all connected together, right? So how are you going to... they're all disconnected, so how are you going to connect them together into a larger system? And that was what the internet became. Those of us who were around at the time, it was just a point where no company could really agree how to do it. Does it sound familiar? No company can agree how to set up a network, and we see exactly the same effect with crypto, except that it's not a network, so to speak, but it's an ecosystem. And I see that word used all around, ecosystem. We want to build an ecosystem, an IoT ecosystem, but what does that look like? Well, with Ravencoin, it looks like Bitcoin, but with this thing called torrent technology attached. Now, I know a lot of people probably haven't described the technology in that way, but essentially, IPFS is a DHT network, so it's a dynamic hash table. It allows you to store the torrent, if you will, or the metadata hash, onto the blockchain, and what you can do with that is you can essentially link it to metadata. You can link it to your commercial data. It could be tickets for a train. It could be a lottery fund. You could be an assayer. You could be an assayer that wants to certify gold for your equity group or trade fund. It could be really a variety of things. But how do we actually define revolutionary software? What is revolutionary? And when can we expect the next revolution? Well, revolutionary software is what people associate with the Tech 500, right? All of those companies. But what they're actually using is they're using old technology that's been around for 5 or 10 years. Like Python, MySQL, and Java, Ruby on Rails, like YouTube, and so on. So revolutionary software isn't really what language you use. It's what it lets people do with the already existing ones, right? So we can work out something from that. What does that really mean? It kind of means that revolutionary software isn't built on a new technology, it's built on a new concept that lets people do something they never thought about doing before. Just think about that. Or something that maybe they never thought about ever doing. So yeah, Ravencoin is built on Bitcoin, which is a cryptographic currency, and IPFS, which is a torrent technology. They're both revolutionary technologies. I'm sure we can all agree about that. Ravencoin in its second layer, as you can see, there's a lot of different uses for the chain. I won't go into them too much detail, because it is a large presentation and there is a lot of slides, so I do apologize if I sound slightly like a crazed maniac going through them all. Configuring and running a Ravencoin Linux wallet. For those that want to know more, and perhaps might want to experiment themselves, this slide is for you. As you can see at the bottom there, that's what the Raven debug log looks like. It tells you what's going on in the wallet. At the top there is the actual configuration for the wallet. So when we actually run the Raven daemon, that's the thing that gets loaded. You can actually pass them as a parameter in the command line. I won't go into it too much. I know that we're not all technical. But for those that are interested, this is how you do it. Installing Ravencoin. Installing and running Ravencoin is very easy to do. You can get up and running and you can start doing transactions, whether you're a retail store or whether you're just a developer wanting to experiment, or if you just have a standard desktop wallet on your Windows machine, you can do it without doing any of this. Just create an IPFS hash on something like globalupload.io or the Ravenland upload service. I'm going to skip this slide. So Raven CLI help is your friend. If anyone wants to develop with Ravencoin, this is where I started. When I started, I knew nothing, and now I know a little bit. And I'm happy to share that with you. So what does the anatomy of a Ravencoin IPF hash actually look like? It looks like something like this. So you've got a contract URL, you've got a contract hash, you've got a symbol, you've got a name, you've got some kind of description. You're saying who's issued that asset, or perhaps maybe it's an assay, a certificate that you've linked in there. And if you've tagged that asset as unissuable, you'll never be able to change it. So it acts as a form of proof. So patenting, copywriting, anything like that. So this is making the Raven CLI cool, list assets. So we're listing some Ravenland, Ravenland matching names there at the top, and also a little query of Raven CLI list assets. You can do this in the Windows wallet as well under debug. So this is how you actually start to get data out. And here's an asset called Picard, a very popular one. What does Picard actually look like? Well, we have to call the getAssetData function to actually find out. And you can see we're told several important things by Ravencoin. The first thing is the name, the amount, how many units you've got, whether it has an IPFS hash, maybe it doesn't. So we need to know that stuff. And then actually retrieving the IPFS hash. As we can see, we've got a nice Star Trek film here. We can receive information through curl or other tools. So we can literally use Ravencoin as a library, but we can also use it as a distributor. So this is a simple multi-test asset faucet that I put together. It's surprising, really. It's quite difficult to figure out how to do these things, but once you're doing them, they're very easy. And hopefully that comes across in this presentation, and it can help people that want to develop a little bit more about it. So what does the Faucet app do? Well, it receives and sends assets to and from Ravencoin addresses. Fairly simple. But then we have something called Ravencoin RPClib. This is just like an include function that we call in our script, like a standard website would in PHP. And all we do is we programmatically send transfer asset name amount address. So this is something that someone could set up in 10 minutes or so, with the help of someone like myself, I'm sure. And it's remarkable, really, because once you've got past that point, you're already at the view state. So you're already rendering objects, and it gives you a much. So you're already rendering objects. You can obviously do optional validation as you normally would with the traditional website technology. So you're not limited in any way. Although Ravencoin isn't like Ethereum's EVM, actually it makes you work a little bit harder and create a kind of second layer that does stuff. And I appreciate this. It doesn't come out very well on the slide, so perhaps you can review it later. So this is the decentralized film and sharing service that we created using IPFS and Ravencoin. It's essentially using Bitcoin and torrent technology to draw this page, and it could represent some kind of revolution in retail and privacy. Also, obviously, the dereplication that will occur on the IPFS network, it's like a CDN. So the more people that use it, the more efficient that it becomes. That's a great thing, because it means that we're all using hard disks, we all lose space, and it's very inefficient. We have to buy new ones. What if you didn't have to buy disks? Well then, you might be using something like IPFS, you might be using S3 or something like that, but Ravencoin and IPFS allow you to do special things that you couldn't do before, such as encrypting it or securely distributing it between an IPFS private swarm, which is possible. So how does the film application work? Well, it works pretty much the same way that the Faucet works. I'm not going to oversell it. And it works pretty much the same way that you'd expect legacy technology to work. Image source, https://gateway.ravenland.org. What that is, it's an endpoint. It just allows us to call the IPFS hash. And we throw in the IPFS hash here, and then all of a sudden it works like a normal legacy website. So you can do websites with Ravencoin fairly easily. This is hopefully what our next revision of the software will look like. It does look a lot like Plex. That's not intentional. So here's actually a technical breakdown for anyone who's interested. That's how you would do this kind of thing in PHP. So you'd define the unique asset in PHP that you want to retrieve, and then you would define the title based on that unique asset, and then you would decode the URL for the IPFS hash that was contained within, and I'm sure you can see, it's a little bit fell back, IPFS hash is contained in within it. So not only does it grab the assets from Ravencoin, it also grabs the JSON or any file from IPFS hash as well. And as you can see, JSON, file, get contents, decode URL, that's pretty much it. That's very simple to do, and anyone can do this. We also created a little operating system. It's nothing spectacular, but it basically allows you to run RavenD out of the box and IPFS as well. I'm actually selling these at cost. There isn't any profit in it. There are 60 euros each. I'm running out of time, but hopefully you can get an insight into how much you can do with Ravencoin. So I'm going to skip a few slides because there's a few redundant ones in here. So we actually created an asset explorer, and I just wanted to show you a little bit how we receive stuff from it. So do feel free to take a picture or review the presentation later, because I do know I have a lot of slides to go through. So this is a SQL query. This is a database that we've populated from Ravencoin and IPFS, and it just allows us to keep track of what's going on Ravencoin. This is a little script that I wrote that does that. We won't waste too much time on this. But yeah, just to give you an idea of a kind of in-production programmatic example of how you might retrieve these assets. So this is a very complex piece, but basically all it does, let's get all of the assets from Ravencoin, let's find out what the IPFS hashes are, and let's put them in a database so we can know what they are. So we started about June 2018. We've expanded quite a lot over that time. We now have, I'd say, about 10, 15 servers to kind of bring these services to you. And many of you might be familiar with the scratch card game that we created just to showcase you what is possible. Obviously, this could be much more than scratch cards. It could be an entire casino game. It could be roulette. It could really be anything that you like. You could run a video rental service from it. You could run, really, kind of the options that you have are unlimited, and the point of this presentation, I hope that you will go away with it, is to see that when it comes to Bitcoin, Ravencoin's fork of Bitcoin and IPFS, there really is some power, and there really is a way to do this in just a few days. We created this application in a few days. So what are our ultimate goals? Create products, show demonstrability, create products before we raise money for our STO, have an honest funding model, and to forward our objective, and also a common stock for all of our holders. We want to give the community open source software, and we kind of want to serve the Ravencoin community and offer this service for the public. And that is about it. I'm sure probably quite a few people might have a question to ask, perhaps. No questions? Well, thank you very much for listening. You've been great. Cheers. Cheers, dude.
Thanks, Adam.
You're welcome.
Doesn't. It's good? Okay, thanks. Also, quick note that if you're looking for the presentations, everything will be uploaded to ravencoinmeetup.org, ravencoinmeetup.org, so everything that's here will get uploaded there. And our next speaker, Miles, go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm Miles. I'm here to talk on behalf of Zelcore about our relationship with Raven and what we've done so far and what we're looking forward to doing in the future. So Tron actually gave a great overview, so I'll kind of skip over this. But he wrote a great Medium article about why the asset layer is better for what ERC20 is usually used for. That's Ethereum's usual ICO token. And now we have ERC223s, 720s, there's a few different things out there. But they all involve, getting deep elbow deep in code, and they're not as standardized as Raven's asset layer. And I think it's Raven's great strength, you know. If you're wanting to tokenize equity shares, stocks, coupons, utility tokens, many and much more, Raven's kind of the easy way to do it because it's standardized and pretty much anyone can do it. It doesn't require any coding knowledge. So I recommend you check out that Medium article. So currently, as Tron mentioned, there's a core client. It's a good core client. It's similar to Bitcoin's Qt core wallet, but it's had a UI overhaul and it's obviously got the extended features that Raven has. Issues with it is it's a little bit clunky, you know, in a day and age where everyone has a mobile phone and most people have a thin and light laptop. Having 8 gigabytes, 10 gigabytes of chain data, pinging your CPU to 100% usage isn't ideal. And although it's a pretty simple UI to use, it's system resource intensive. So, what have we done? Zelcore, we've been working as Zel with a few of the Raven developers on a few different things. And out of conversation, we decided to add the asset layer. That means in our wallet, which is available on all platforms, iOS, Android, Mac, Linux, and Windows, you can store all 19,000 and something Raven assets, as well as a few others, 150 other cryptocurrencies. And we do it in a way where there's no central account system. That means you keep your keys. We have a strong belief in user privacy, and we don't want your information, because the best security is when you don't have a central point of failure. So here's it in play. The UI is being released in a sort of initial version, but basically if you have a Raven asset, you can search for it, or if you already have one, it'll show up. You can select your asset and then transact it. And you can do this and log in to your account on multiple devices. So in the future, what we're aiming to do is allow the ability to create assets, kind of removing the need necessarily for the average token issuer to utilize the core client. This should make token issuance a little easier and accessible. I think tokens right now have a good place as sort of a promotional piece. Different websites and services that are within the Raven ecosystem can use them to kind of advertise. But yeah, it's to come. Simple and a little lighter and easier to use than the current core wallet. Other stuff we do with Raven, Zelcore accepts Raven for the Zelcore Plus platform. It's like an extended version, so I'd recommend you can check out Zelcore. Just Google Zelcore, or on your Play Store or App Store, you can find us. And so next screen, Zelcore Plus is a little bit more of an extended version of Zelcore. It's got news information, portfolio trackers, also full exchange APIs. You can trade Raven as well as store everything to do with Raven within Zelcore. That's your Binance, which I'm sure you've all heard of. Bittrex, Kraken, and also the recent Binance DEX, and more. You can also quick swap Raven with some of the quick swap exchanges, so you don't have to get into a full UI like this. And yes, you can check out Zel at zel.network. Much shorter than Adam's, but it's just a quick overview of who we are, what we do. So thank you for your time, and thanks to the Raven community for having me.
Thanks, Miles. Next up, we'll have a panel discussion led by Michael. But before, we have a 5-minute break, and after 5 minutes, we'll continue with our panel discussion and question and answers. Thanks.